You saw the gunshots, you heard the lies, you watched them rise and fall. But what if I told you there's something in power you never noticed? It wasn't the betrayal, the blood, or even the money. It was the warning hidden in plain sight. Right from the start, the writers weren't just telling a story. They were trying to tell you something about the streets, about ambition, about what power really does to a person, and the scariest part, most people missed it. Asterisk the power universe isn't just a crime drama, it's a world. A living, breathing system full of rules, codes, and silent signals. From the very first episode of Power to the latest twist in Power Book 4, these shows have done more than just entertain. They've shown us how ambition, loyalty, and greed fight in the same ring. And someone always loses. Asterisk at first glance. It looks like your typical story. Drug dealers, cops, family, betrayal. But once you pay attention, something else becomes clear. This universe was never about drugs. It was always about choices and the consequences that come with them. Every time a character chooses between two paths, there's a cost. The higher they climb, the more they lose. And that's the real message hiding underneath all the drama. Asterisk think about Ghost, James St. Patrick. Everyone remembers his suits, his nightclub, and the empire he built. But what people forget is this. He spent the whole series trying to escape the world he created. Ghost didn't want to be king of the streets. He wanted to be clean, to be new. But the world wouldn't let him. And maybe that's the first warning. Asterisk the deeper you go into the Power universe, the more you see that the characters are trapped, not by guns or gangs, but by patterns. Patterns of violence, of silence, of legacy. And that's the genius of the writing. The warning isn't spoken. It's shown over and over, different names. Same outcome. Asterisk so when people say Power is just another street show, they're missing the point. The Power universe is telling us something real, something dangerous. It's showing us how easy it is to get pulled into a world that promises everything, but gives you nothing in the end. Asterisk, and most of us never saw it coming. Asterisk in the Power universe, the loudest moments aren't where the truth lives. The truth hides in the quiet ones, the side glances, the way a character pauses before speaking, the shift in music when someone walks into the room. That's where the real danger is. Asterisk because here's the thing, Power never just told you what was coming. It showed you. The warning signs were everywhere, long before the bullets flew or the betrayals hit. But they weren't shouted out, they were whispered, like a storm building under your feet. Asterisk let's break it down. Asterisk a warning in a story isn't just someone yelling, don't do it. In storytelling, especially smart storytelling, warnings are often invisible. They live in the way a scene is lit, the words a character repeats, the places people avoid, a look, a hesitation, a broken routine. Asterisk Power is filled with those clues. The writers knew what was going to happen from the start. They laid down trail after trail, hoping we'd notice. And if you go back now and rewatch certain scenes, you'll realize the tragedy didn't sneak up on anyone. It walked in plain sight, wearing a suit, holding a drink, smiling. Asterisk take the way Ghost always stood in mirrors. Not just once, often. Why? Because he was living two lives. The man he was, and the man he pretended to be. That wasn't an accident. That was a visual warning, a symbol. And what happens when you stare too long into the mirror? You start to lose track of which version is real. Asterisk, even the names matter. Ghost, someone who's already dead. Kanan, a twist on Cain, the biblical brother who killed his own blood. Rack, solid as stone, but only until pressure cracks her. These aren't just names. They're messages. Asterisk so when people say the characters didn't see it coming, they're wrong. The signs were there, the warnings were clear. But that's what Power does so well. It teaches us something without spelling it out. Just like In real life, the biggest mistakes happen when we ignore the quiet, asterisk, and the power universe. It's built on quiet warnings. Asterisk, you just weren't listening. Asterisk, you don't become a ghost when you die. Asterisk, you become a ghost when the world stops seeing. The real you, asterisk, James St. Patrick didn't vanish when he got shot. He disappeared long before that, the moment he tried to become someone else. The moment he tried to be legit, he became a shadow of both lives. And if you watch closely, the power universe was warning us from the beginning. Ghost was never going to make it out. Asterisk, from day one, his world was a war between who he was and who he pretended to be. Businessman versus kingpin, suit versus street, nightclub versus corner. And in every episode, the camera told the truth. Even when he didn't, you'd see him in a clean, tailored suit giving speeches, shaking hands, but then he'd walk into a room and the light would shift. The smile would drop, the ghost would return. That duality wasn't drama, it was warning. Asterisk, remember the mirrors. They weren't props, they were messages. Ghost was constantly reflected, not just once, but over and over again. Each reflection felt colder, more distant. He was split between ambition and reality. The more he chased his dream of being clean, the dirtier everything around him became. That wasn't irony. That was design. Asterisk, then there's the people he pushed away, Tasha, Tommy, even Tariq. All of them started as extensions of his life. But the more he tried to erase the past, the more they turned into threats. And deep down, Ghost knew it. That's why he never really trusted anyone, not even himself. There's a warning in that, too. If your success comes from lies, it will always cost you the truth. Asterisk, his dream of going straight wasn't hope, it was denial. The writers didn't hide it. They showed you in Ghost's eyes every time someone mentioned the past. He'd flinch, he'd pivot, he'd lie. Because he thought he could outrun who he was. But power never let him. And neither did fate. Asterisk, Ghost's entire arc is a countdown. Not to his death, it's to his disappearance. The real man got lost in the dream. And when the dream fell apart, all that was left was the name. The legend, the myth, and in the power universe, myths don't survive, they haunt. Asterisk, so if you're watching Power and you think Ghost was just unlucky, think again. He was warned over and over by the world, by his family, by the camera itself. Asterisk, but like most people chasing power. Asterisk, he thought the rules didn't apply to him. Asterisk, until they did. Kanan Stark didn't just walk into darkness. He was built inside it. His story isn't about becoming a villain. It's about a boy learning that being the villain is the only way to survive. And that's the quiet horror of his arc. Power never gave him a real choice. It just gave him a head start on the fall. Asterisk, if Ghost was about transformation, Kanan is about legacy, generational pain. In raising Kanan, you don't just see him hustling. You see him being trained, taught, molded by his mother, by the streets, by a system that rewards brutality and punishes softness. And every time Kanan tries to hold on to something pure, school, love, family, it slips through his fingers. That's not bad luck. That's storytelling. That's the warning. Asterisk, watch Rat closely, Kanan's mother. She doesn't teach him to protect himself. She teaches him to dominate. Her love is real, but it's poisoned with strategy. Every hug hides a calculation. Every lesson is survival disguised as affection. She tells Kanan how to move, how to lead, how to strike first. And slowly, you realize she's not raising a son. She's building a weapon. That's the cycle. That's the trap. Asterisk, and the show never yells it out. It shows you in silence, in stares, in music that dips low when Kanan does something he can't take back. He's warned again and again, but the voice inside him gets quieter each time. That's the power universe's cruelty. The more you survive, the less human you become. Until all that's left is instinct. Asterisk by the time we meet adult Kanan in the original Power series, he's ice. No guilt, no pause, he burns people without blinking, including his own blood. But when you rewind the story, you see the child who once looked unsure, even scared. And then you realize Kanan didn't become a monster overnight. He was made. Asterisk, and that's the hidden message. The streets don't raise you, they train you. And if you don't notice the warning signs, if you ignore them long enough, you don't just lose your future. You lose your soul. Asterisk, the Power universe never needed to show Kanan breaking. Because by the time we really meet him, the damage is already done. Asterisk, and that's the warning we all missed. Asterisk, you thought this was just entertainment. Asterisk, but what if it was a mirror? Asterisk, the Power universe isn't just telling stories about drug dealers, broken families, and betrayals. It's telling stories about cycles and the people trapped inside them. Ghost, Kanan, Tariq, Rak, they all wore different faces, but walked the same path, and that's not an accident. That's the point. Asterisk, every time a character tries to rise above their past, they fall even harder. Every time someone tries to escape the game, they're pulled back in. And the more they fight for control, the more control they lose. That's not just fiction. That's real life. Asterisk, the warning isn't just inside the story. It's around us, in the choices we justify, in the red flags we ignore, in the people we become when we think no one's watching. That's why the Power universe hits so hard, not because it's violent, but because it's honest. Asterisk, so the next time you rewatch it, pay attention. Listen closely. The signs were always there. Asterisk, a look, a silence, a line repeated from a past season. Asterisk, you weren't just watching their downfall. Asterisk, you were being shown yours. Asterisk, the question is, asterisk, did you catch the warning in time? Asterisk.